I am. I'm trying to just be a good researcher. I'm
No,
trying to
it's
make
good.
our high school librarian proud,
No.
No? You don't think so?
I think you're just doing what you're supposed to do.
I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to be as responsible as I can. I'm probably still not doing it right. Guarantee.
Probably not.
Trying my best.
That's all right. Everything's theft.
If we had I guess I could start building some kind of I'd like to be able to build a sheet somehow that links to everything that I'm discussing, so I can properly link it somewhere. But I don't really know how to do that.
I don't know what you're saying. No.
Okay. I think I'm trying to provide people a way to you click here, and it'll bring you to the links I was discussing. But I don't know the best way to do that.
You can put it in the description.
Yeah, but I have a million links, so it's I wish there was it'd be effectively building a landing page for SMSoup and being links talked about in blah blah blah, and it would just be here's episode blah blah blah, click on here and here's all the shit that was linked to. I want it to be a universal source.
Or you could just put them in the descriptions. No?
Yeah, it just feels like that would be a lot. Is all. Maybe I'm overthinking
I don't know.
it.
You'll figure it out.
Or I won't.
Oh, shit. We're live.
Oh, shit. Put an F in the chat.
Well, not live.
Oh.
I meant the mics are hot.
Spicy.
This is everybody can hear what we're saying right now. Unless you edit it out.
Never.
When you go back and you try to put together and edit this incredible episode of Soup.
I'm gonna just cut all that out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SMSoup, the #1 podcast with soup in the name, but not on the brain. I am your sick co-host,
He's so
Spencer,
sick.
joined by
Shelby.
And together, we're here to take you on a journey through life's biggest questions, like...
Waiter, how is this soup made?
And waiter, how do I get rid of this illness?
Yeah, so today, timed perfectly or imperfectly, depending on how you view it, we're doing a deep dive, which is normally an episode where I just talk at Spencer for a long time, and he occasionally brings in tangents. But as you may or may not be able to hear, his voice is a little off. Much better than the beginning of this week.
Way better. I can.
He
don't
couldn't
worry.
speak at the beginning of this week.
I'll be able to still interject.
Yeah.
I am at full health.
But yeah. So.
Speaking of which, let me get a lozenge real quick.
Oh my god. So I feel like let's just skip the pleasantries unless there was anything you wanted to go over.
I do think. And this is honestly going to get in the way of some of our important episodes, because the important episodes are the ones that are at the end of each month.
Yeah.
But I did want to kind of do a monthly check-in,
okay.
to kind of see how did, especially January, it's important.
Yeah.
How did January go?
Yeah.
How do you feel like you've kind of set yourself up for the new year, and do you think you're off to a good start?
I think I'm off to a good start. January in a lot of ways was slow, which I think January is meant to be. I'm a passionate, anyone who's I'm not a Jan 1 running full speed girl. That is not what I have the energy for. I need the rest of January to recover from what last year was. So it was slow, but also a lot of good groundwork was done for I think setting up the new year. So yeah, I'm excited. Already have market stuff coming up already, which in previous years it was non-existent until September. So interested to see what a whole year actually looks like. Yeah. How are you feeling about January?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I kind of got hit hard, I think, with the. Maybe I'll blame it on seasonal depression.
Sure.
Here of late.
Mm-hmm. Had that sad in you.
Yeah. But yeah, I would echo what you said. Slow January.
Yes.
I think the slowness of January has also caused me to like have like panic and dread.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, some good groundwork.
Yeah.
Has been done for the things that I care about, at least.
Nice.
Whether
That's
or
good.
not it's actually meaningful or helpful towards anything.
I mean, if it's meaningful to you, I'd say it's meaningful.
Good enough. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, now I'm just sick.
Yeah, that definitely put a damper on things.
Yeah, that definitely, I think, also impacted my
overview of the month.
Well, just both my actual health and my mental health.
Yeah, fair.
But it's all right.
Very
We'll
fair.
push through it. We'll get there, and we'll hope for a good February.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a leap year.
God damn it! Fun fact that nobody cares about. My dad's birthday is February 28th, and he was born on a leap year, which is always just really fun to me.
Yeah.
So happy 60th, Papa.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're done.
The end. Goodbye.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry to do pleasantries. But yeah, this is our first
deep dive of 2024.
Of January, end of 2024. I'm really excited.
In case you were new here, we do a rough schedule of alternating the last Monday of every other month. So the odd months are deep dives.
The weird months, if you will.
The weird months, yeah. Are deep dives. So, January, deep dive, and then March will be a deep dive, me questioning months.
May.
Yeah.
July September.
So.
November.
So.
Just name them all.
The even months, starting in February, will be our movie club, which if you're new again, we are from 1975 to now 2023 because the nominees have gone live. We randomly select a year and we watch all of the Academy's Best Picture nominees. So the year we chose so far is 1983.
Was chosen for us, but
was chosen for us randomly. And if you're like, what movies are there? Obviously you can Google it, or on SMSoup podcast on TikTok and Instagram. It is sitting there in a little graphic. So you can see all 5 movies that we are watching in preparation for this, and we'll kind of review them, decide if we feel the winner was the winner, give our thoughts and feelings, et cetera, et cetera.
And real quick, just to call out, because the nominees for 2023 were just announced, I think the discourse around it is like very telling, and it's just a really solid reminder to say that like, we understand that the 5 movies that were nominated may not technically be
the most popular movies of that year.
Most popular movies of that year, or even sometimes the 5 technical best.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, we can get into it at the end of February, I'm sure.
But the idea is that it's at the very least a solid baseline, because if for nothing else, the Academy is typically a popularity contest in a lot of ways.
Right.
So
just getting a glimpse at like movies over the years and whatnot. So yeah. So whether you want to watch the films in preparation with us, again, 1983 Academy Best Picture nominees, or you just want to like show up on the end of February and go, do I want to watch these? Like, you can use us as your basis of wanting to watch them. Yeah, that'll be the end of February, and that'll happen every other month on the alternate. So this is a deep dive. And then end of February will be movie club, blah, 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 and pattern repeats.
So that'll be February.
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
June.
So
August.
today is a deep dive.
October.
We didn't even buffer. We didn't even like banter, and it's still already 10 minutes in. But here we are. Deep dive. If you weren't here last week, we counted all of our stuff. And you're probably like, why the hell did you count all your stuff, you weirdos? Well, go listen to that episode to find out. But expanding upon that, I'm doing an essay-style deep dive. So it's not really one topic. It's skimming over a few things to kind of paint a broader picture, if you will. I have a bit of an obsession talking about stuff, talking about consumerism. It's something I am very passionate about, and a bit of the how do we consume properly is sort of the question. Or how can we be consuming better, more appropriately,
Mindfully.
and mindfully, yes.
Potentially ethically.
And potentially ethically, yes. So
sometimes it's possible.
Sometimes it is possible.
Sometimes it's not.
Exactly. So, starting off. I never named these. I guess if you want a title, it's a deep dive on consumerism, minimalism, and culture. It'll all come together. Culture. So, the reason I want to do this in January, I find it a tad ironic that after our highest point of consumerism in the year, aka Christmas, we turn around literally 2 weeks later and we're like, purge your house. You have so much shit. Won't it feel so good to start the new year with less shit? And then we repeat the process 10 months later. And that is the biggest reason I wanted to do it in January. Literally everyone who thrifts, this is the best time of year to go to the thrift store because everyone's getting rid of their crap. Everyone's like, oh my God, I have so much stuff. And they're going to go and spend thousands of dollars anyway on more stuff in 10 months because they feel they need to. That is kind of what sparked all of this. So every time you and I, Spencer, get into a conversation about consumerism and all of this, I'm not saying you, I'm just people do this.
The royal you.
People do this, but you bring this up, so that's why I wanted to touch on this briefly. The conversation of overpopulation is connected to the conversation of overconsumption. I'm not going to sit here and say they aren't. But I would like to sit here and say why I think it's more important to focus on overconsumption.
I think, yeah, okay.
I know, I understand where you're coming from, and I hear you, and you're not wrong.
I wasn't even going to bring up overpopulation because every time I bring it up, you go, we can't blame things on that. And it's we absolutely can.
They're connected.
It's one of those things where it's can we really do anything about it? No, I'm not saying we need to just be all right, random selection, lottery style.
Right.
Let's see how many people we need to take out so we get back within a range that is reasonable for this fucking planet. But it's 1000% our biggest problem with things. And not that I'm gonna get too preachy about overpopulation, but the thing that pisses me off is that we have such a massive population and companies and everything like that are running at all-time highs.
Yep.
And we're still watching massive layoffs happen.
Oh, 100%.
And
100%.
It frustrates the hell out of me. And universal basic income needs to be a thing. We need to just figure it out already because this is not the life that we should all be living.
Also, I'm not going to get into this, but the whole overpopulation thing, and we do have a shit ton of people on this planet. It's a lot. But also then it drives me up a wall when birth rates are evening out. Mm-hmm. Yet now we're panicking because birth rates are evening out and not. It's so fucking insane. Right. It's so insane.
Our birth rates are dropping, and so we aren't going to
we're not gonna have the workforce in 20 years that we have now. Or
You're
whatever.
Literally trying to offload the workforce as we speak.
I know. It's a whole fucking insane conversation. I absolutely agree with you. It's a whole fucking insane conversation. But I'm getting at why we need to focus more on overconsumption than overpopulation, which again, they are hand in hand. They're connected. 100% they're connected.
Well, no, I feel like overconsumption is individualistic.
To a degree. It's it's a society.
You can say shame on the companies that say nobody wants to buy things anymore. Because you have more people able to buy than ever before.
Yes.
So what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes.
You can throw overpopulation in their face and say that literally this thing is working for you.
Yeah.
Not against you.
What I'm talking about is the global impact of the unequal use of resources, which is tied into overconsumption. Because then you have these extreme adjustments in who's actually consuming and that is I'll say individual or smaller group society problem than blaming it on overpopulation. You know what I mean? They're related. Okay, so basically. Sorry, my eyes are adjusting to my laptop or to my iPad. I'm trying not to hold it in front of my face. So, obviously, the quoted from the Lancet Planetary Health Group, the world's wealthiest 5% of individuals use more energy than the poorest half of the global population combined, which is absolutely fucking insane.
Read that to me again.
The world's wealthiest 5% of individuals use more energy than the poorest half, which that doesn't have a number, of the global population combined. 5% of individuals use more energy
In the world.
in the world.
Uh-huh.
The way you're just staring at me right now.
No, I'm just trying to make sure I'm thinking about this right.
Yeah, like this is a global
Mhm.
stat. 5, and that's just talking about energy usage.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
That's another thing now. Well, because like I'm literally sitting here going like, yeah, that makes sense because you have like third world countries that like don't even have electricity.
sure, like minimal, yeah.
And then I sit here and go, 5% of people,
Are using more than like entire countries.
and don't just and
Yeah.
and we still haven't figured out how to get these people electricity.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Overconsumption, not equal spreading of resources. So, from populationmedia.org, which was a pretty interesting website if you want to check it out, overconsumption cannot be separated from overpopulation.
Let's go. These are my people.
If the world's population became more sustainable or our practices more environmentally friendly, there could be enough resources available for all humans to thrive.
1,000%.
Yeah.
We've known that. We'll always know that.
Exactly.
Literally.
That's not new information. That's not new information.
I am Satsuna. Said it best. The greed of humans.
The end.
Yeah.
So obviously these two go very hand in hand, but this is now Shelby talking. The thing that gets me really worked up about this argument is it's so crazy that instead of someone going, wow, maybe if we just consumed less or consumed consciously or like, stopped being pieces of shit, things could be better for everyone. And instead, we go, someone somewhere must stop reproducing, like human reproduction. Like, stop making people. There's clearly too many people. But instead of like just having less, learning to live with less, changing our like lifestyle, we're like, it must be someone else's problem. Clearly somewhere else is the problem. And again, I know I'm heavily overreaching a very like much bigger thing, but it like that's what drives me crazy about that.
To me, it's both.
I just like
to me it's both because it's so absurd. We literally talked about this back when we did What's Happening.
Yeah.
Where we like looked at the population.
The growth. Yeah.
It's stupid.
I mean, it's insane.
It's sincerely unsustainable.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we start being conscious about how much energy we use because like you're going to get to a point where you have to use like where it gets to a point where like everybody has to use like no energy because there's so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're constantly doubling your population over less and less time.
Yeah.
I mean, we build up now.
Right. Because we can't build out anymore. But yeah, also
you're not wrong though.
Not to even mention the beginning of people talking about this conversation tends to very quickly go racist, classist, all of the above.
To me, it's both. We need to.
Well, I mean, again, birth rates are already leveling out.
We need to stop growing the population.
Okay.
We need to stop growing it
at
like,
the rate we're growing it.
Well, not even that, just like mindlessly. Like that's the thing. Like as a species, as a civilization and stuff, we're supposed to grow and think about these things better and stuff like that, right? And yet, at the end of the day, we still have so many people who are like, no, literally, you are born, you managed to live for as long as possible, and throughout that time, you managed to, your only purpose is to have a kid. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
No?
Right.
Like, not anymore. Come on.
Right.
Now, like, your purpose is like, who cares? Whatever. You're living in the best time.
Right.
This is how it should be. It's not, very clearly.
Right.
I mean, with like war and all this other stuff, famine, and we'll never actually, because again, what we talked about, the 5%. But yeah, I mean, you should be like just high-fiving endlessly, like the fact that you get to like live
Yeah.
and it couldn't be any better.
Sure.
And instead it's just like, no, have more kids. It's the only way to sustain. It's like, no, we've moved past that for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I mean, at least speaking from like a United States perspective, it's been a slow shift, but it's been a shift in how we talk about that and how we view that culturally. And I also think a bit of that comes down to a bit of the individualistic viewpoint versus a community way of living. Because when it's so individualistic, you're like, this is the path this is what I am meant to do. Versus like on a community like style of culture, you're not given a sole purpose of like, you are to create life and take care of said life. Like part of your purpose is like caring for those around you, like whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's like whoever. Like you're given, at least this is like my viewpoint of it, like you're given more purpose. Like you are given a special role to other people that didn't require you to create a new human to do that. And I feel like those types of conversations are like I feel like people are starting to really want that, like want a community over just like, oh, I have to reproduce in order to understand like true love of something or to care for something.
Yeah. I cream pied this bitch and now she pushed out a baby.
I hate you so much. So wanted to touch on that, basically. Why I always come from the viewpoint of like, yes, they are hand in hand. They are connected. They are absolutely connected. I will never say they're not connected. But it drives me crazy that I feel like that is being seen as the answer faster than the rate we consume and produce and how we produce and consume and like all of that. I think that is what drives me insane, is like those conversations are so easy to throw out for overpopulation. But as soon as we throw out overconsumption, people are like, whoa, 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 don't go taking stuff from me. And I'm just like, well, how do you not see? Whatever. That's where I was going with
that's
that.
that's how it's always going to be.
I know. I absolutely know. Because people
I also don't I don't hold anything against, like, like, obviously I want people, if they like want to have kids and stuff like that, I want them to do it. I don't, like, I'm not, when I say like we have an overpopulation problem and stuff like that, like people need to stop.
You're not looking to like restrict
I'm
people.
not saying like literally everybody needs to stop, but like we definitely needed to slow down the rate. And to your point, we have.
Yeah.
So now we need to reflect on other areas.
Yeah.
And you're
exactly
100% right about the consumption. But it's both in my mind. Like you gotta have them hand in hand.
They are connected. I agree. So obviously our consumption has had and will continue to have a gigantic environmental impact. In case you haven't noticed that, it's literally, I mean, environmental, financial, it's having an impact on everything that we do. When I say consumption, I am mostly talking about like stuff, like belongings. Obviously this conversation could so easily tie into like food and like how we consume energy and how we consume like natural resources. Like it could branch into all of those. I am just like, when I say consume, I'm mostly talking about like belongings today, like just to keep it simple for visual reasons. Obviously this stat comes out pretty much all the time, especially around Earth Day and whatever. But from worldcounts.com, if everyone lived like Western consumers, we would need 5 planets to support us if everyone like came up to our level of consumption. Just for more specific, if you were the average American, if everyone was the average American, you'd actually need 5.2 planets to support us. If you were the average Japanese person, you would need 3, and Europeans is 3.3. So like, again, the whole.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask the question of what about like China and India? Because they're the only 2 other countries that rival us on a population basis.
Yes. This site called out Japan specifically. I think they were just trying to get like a grip of like.
It's interesting they call out Japan.
I know,
because I don't know what
also find that
Japan's population is.
I mean,
but they're an island, so
big, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But their consumption is obviously, I mean, like Tokyo is like a mecca.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be intrigued about like China, and again, it's just because like land size and population go hand in hand. Obviously,
I don't have a number on their consumption, but I have a stat about carbon emissions that is China related that I will touch on in literally 2 seconds. All I wanted to say first was, if I hate this, but Love this. The way this, like, I guess the metaphor is used. If Earth's history is compared to a calendar year, modern human life has existed for 37 minutes, and we have used 1/3 of Earth's natural resources in the last 0.2 seconds. I just love that. I hate it, but I like love the the visualization of like time in that way.
Yeah.
So you said about obviously like China
Can we real quick talk about that?
Mhm.
I find it really like funny that again, we're in such a state in terms of advancement
Yeah.
where we've learned how to like replicate the benefits synthetically
Yeah.
of natural resources.
Mhm.
Yet we keep burning
Yeah.
through natural resources.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of the structures we put in place have now been there for like a handful of I can't say like forever because it's mostly from like post-industrialization,
Yeah.
but like for a handful of generations. And now we just like don't want to fucking spend the money to set new structures in place. Like now we're just like, that'd be a lot of money, even though it's like would be the long move, sustainable, healthier, like actually just like fucking better. Cause what are all of these structures gonna do when we fucking run out? Like just crumble. But of course, all you see is like the paycheck right now. And you're like, oh, this is fine. This is fine. At least I benefit from it. It's like, it's a lack of care for the future. It's all about just like, as long as I'm benefiting right now,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. That's like absolutely the viewpoint we're in with all of that, with resource usage, 100% is like the biggest thing. I mean, literally at this point, the fucking like COP28, like the annual environmental thing, like it's like basically being run by like oil lobbyists at this point, which is like fucking insane. Like the point was to like actually have genuine conversations.
Yeah.
And now like the whole thing is being run by, it's like fucking sponsored by giant oil corporations and like natural resource like miners and like shit like that. Like it's like so fucking insane. Like how it's like all this shit that it's like, what if we just like tried to like have better conversations, like have more honest conversations. And of course, like oil companies, or I just keep saying oil because that's like the big one, but like other like companies that have like found a way to insert themselves in the conversation to be like, yeah, we should be doing better. And you don't sit there and go like, wait, you're the motherfucker who needs to be doing better. Like you're the one with the impact. Like you're the one doing this.
Yeah.
But like that's not like, I mean, sure, there are plenty of people obviously pointing out the falseness in that, but that's not on like a global scale what we're doing, which is like so annoying and backwards. So, tying in the like consumption and the effect, of course, we talk a lot about like carbon emissions and like the like natural warming of everything. So when it comes to carbon emissions, China has like almost always had the highest. And we have like literally shit on them for that and been like, wow, China, your carbon emissions are so high. Like, how are you always the highest? And they do have the highest generally, or they're up there. But they released a study in 2009. I could not find a newer study. I fucking wish there was because I know it's even worse than like whatever this is. They broke down why do we have such high carbon emissions, of course. And 33% of all their emissions come from exporting. 27% of all of those exports go to the United States.
It's ridiculous.
27% of all of their exports from 2009, again, go to the United States. But we can turn around and be like,
stop,
God,
China.
why are your carbon emissions so high?
Your emissions are too high. Your culture is too dank.
And I'm sure, like, again,
They'll kill you, China.
I couldn't find like again a more up to date, like that's a pretty old stat, so I'm sure it's worse. And I'm sure now at this point we've like spread it out because like I'm sure India has had increased carbon emissions. I'm sure there's other countries that have had increased carbon emissions because we're outsourcing manufacturing to these countries where it's like hella cheap, or we can like skirt certain laws or like all this shit. And it's like, but we can then turn around and be like, oh, well, at least our carbon emissions are only like blah, 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 like whatever the fuck. It's just like so outrageous that we can like play that double-handed game, but we're the ones who keep outsourcing all of we're one of the biggest like importers because we just buy shit all the fucking time, basically. So there's that. again, obviously this could all play into a million things, and I don't want to like just make it seem like it's a environmental issue. Obviously there's a million ethical issues with our level of overconsumption. If you're getting a shirt for like $3, someone somewhere is is the one hurting because of that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that needs to become part of your logic. Like I'm not saying never ever buy something that's like within your price range. That is not at all what I'm saying. I am just saying I think like we need to have the conversation of like, why is this so cheap?
Yeah, we talked about that when we did a deep dive into Shein, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
It's the grip that capitalism gets on you.
Yes.
Where you don't have the means to control. You don't have the means to buy. Fuck, what is it? Whatever. You make so little
yes.
for producing whatever it is that you produce that
yes.
you can't possibly buy one of the things that you produce or a piece of it. I forgot the saying. I'm sorry. I'm having a major brain fart. But like, yeah, so you make so little, so you then turn around and have to try and find the best deal possible. And that's whatever. Everybody's got to live.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, everybody has to live. It would fix our overpopulation if everybody didn't need to live.
Shut up.
If everybody stopped living.
Stop.
Think about it.
People stop living eventually.
Think about how much better how much better off the earth would be if everybody, except you and I, stopped living right now.
Again, I try to say this every time. Like, I hate having to say this, but I know certain people get in this headset. Consumption, like necessity is different than just consuming to consume. Like, that is so fucking different. Like, I'm not saying never buy something that's in your price range.
It's what you and I were talking about.
It's like, there are needs. Absolutely.
Where there's been like discussions about boycotting Starbucks.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been like, oh, well, how am I gonna? It's like Starbucks is not a necessity,
right?
No matter
not
how
even
you try to cut
close.
it, no matter how you try to cut it. But if all of a sudden, the woke mind virus rose up and was like, boycott a grocery store.
Yeah.
If it's your only grocery store within 15 minutes, it like, I'm sorry, it is unreasonable to like burden somebody over a cause. Yeah. Because
like they're also stuck.
No matter how much we believe in the cause, it's like, this is what has been built for us. This is this is our reality. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell, I don't care how evil the corporation is. Like, that person needs milk, bread, and eggs.
French toast, baby.
So like they're gonna drive for 15 minutes, or else they have to drive 30 minutes, and they're gonna have to pay more for gas, and they don't have the means to do that because they have the fucking boot of capitalism on their neck. So it's like we talked about with Shein, and I think it's the big conversation around all this stuff too, where it's like it's great to want things, and everybody deserves to satisfy those wants. Absolutely. Every now and then. Right. But being mindful about it and trying your best to only go after needs. Yes. First and foremost, and prioritize needs over wants, which is something that I think our country is really fucking bad at. Yeah. Very. That's what I think a lot of this comes down to. Yeah, 100%. All the things that we counted, not to like completely throw it back. Excuse me. To last week's episode, but like, how much of it would you say is needs? Probably like 20%. You think only 20%? Genuinely. Like, I mean, well, obviously we didn't really count like basically most kitchen things. That's going to like wave a line because what you actually need to cook is like blah, blah, blah. But like we have all this because we enjoy this. Obviously like that starts to hit a gray area. Yeah, but like I wouldn't but like we did have like hygiene categories. Like pretty much all of that would be a need for like whatever reason. All clothing, I would say is most clothing amount of clothing you could like, again, like you get nitpicky. Same with kitchen. Yeah, like you can get nitpicky. I would say everything in the kitchen is a need. When you get to like the fact that we have a rice cooker. Is that a need? No. Does it make our life more like better? Does it reduce the wastefulness of like overcooking rice or stuff like that? Yeah, we've gotten so much better at like perfectly measuring our rice, which you can do that without a rice cooker. Like 1000%. Like yes, there's like it hits the clothing. But if you're gonna make rice, you would have a pot anyway. Exactly. That shit hits a gray area, but like like those for the most part, I'd say that's needs. Like but needs.
I mean, the big thing with the counting, obviously you and I was just super curious about our hobbies. Like,
but your hobbies. So
Yeah.
I would say my hobby is 1000% a one.
yeah.
Your hobbies aren't really a one. Your hobbies
They're like
are
a mix.
to a degree a need.
Yeah.
Like you need those because that's how you are making some
Yeah.
semblance of a livelihood.
Yeah.
Like it's not your full thing or anything
Yeah.
like that, but like you've managed to do the perfect thing, which is you've managed to make money off of your hobby.
Yeah.
Which is like, and you don't hate your hobby.
Right. It hasn't made me hate it yet. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's what we should all be doing.
Yeah. 100%.
So I don't know. Like I think about it and it's like, I think for the most part, you and I are pretty good.
Pretty good. I mean,
Pretty good.
we definitely have so much stuff we don't need. Like, yeah, I'm not obviously trying to paint us in a picture of like, we only have the stuff we need. Like, that is absolutely not the case. Like, we have plenty of wants in our belongings.
I just bought Earthbound. Pretty sweet.
So yes, obviously, like, fast fashion and overconsumption has genuinely helped create, unfortunately, a whole industry of modern day slavery, of people working in incredibly unfair working conditions, unsafe working conditions. Like, literally Google it for 2 minutes. It is incredibly upsetting. Also, that the biggest thing is always, again, I'm going to say this for 2 seconds and I'm moving on. The biggest thing is always shit like International Women's Day or like Black History Month, where it's like of course, marketing companies come out with shirts that are like girl power, blah, blah, blah. And it's like there are predominantly women working in these, like, again, unfairly paid, unsafe situations where this is their entire livelihood to get paid jack shit to make you a shirt that's like, yeah, women, yeah, supporting like Black women or like Black people or like, you know, like it's so fucking insane. Like that's always the biggest thing that's like pointed out is like they're sitting there going like, oh cool, like someone's buying this for $5 so that they can say they support women when like these are the conditions a lot of women are stuck in globally. It's just so bananas. So again, not trying to like guilt trip. It's just like these are the conversations that like need to be had and like need to be like thought about. But yeah, I know you had the comment about like, you know, capitalism kind of keeping us in this cycle. And this is where I'm going to start to bleed into like the cultural aspect of it. So obviously, in theory, more people are buying than ever. Like more people have the somewhat spare money to go out and buy stuff. And it's kind of created, obviously, the cycle of exploitation that like seemingly won't stop. Where our culture, which I'll say like the Western world, the United States, has a huge culture of like the haves and the haves not. It is you want to own things. You want to show off the things you own, which you can touch on the damages of social media for stuff like that. You can touch on like how predatory certain marketing practices are for stuff like that. Like all of this ties together. And by things being made cheaper and cheaper, more people can own things.
Mm-hmm.
Like more people can have status, more people can like feel like a part of the crowd. And so and of course, unfortunately, there's just less and less financial education happening. Like those are unfortunately the things that aren't being fucking taught in public schools. Like you have to like find that information out on your own or be lucky and be born into like generational like wealth and education to learn those things, which is all very unfortunate. And it just kind of keeps people in this level of like existence because you're constantly then in like a repetitive hamster wheel of like, oh, the minute you got your pay, the services that get you your paycheck early so that you can go and fucking buy the things you want to buy, which like is so insane. Like it's just like this whole insane wheel we've created of like absolute chaos of the minute you have $5 you have to go and spend it. Yeah, it's just obviously like you think in this time more people should be well off, and if anything it's like burdened people more, which again obviously we could get into cost of living. I'm talking about stuff. I'm not, I'm trying to like only touch on the things. Everything I'm saying has a lot more nuance and a lot more complexity to it, but I'm trying not to like completely overbear all of this. So the sort of last bit is again the like cultural impact of stuff, and this is where I find it super interesting. Just the like again the like more conversational impact, the more how we view things, which we touched on it last week, where it's like, oh, the stuff you own reflects who you are. And are you buying it to like actually because you like it? Are you buying it because you want to show off? Are you buying it? Blah, blah, blah.
We just beat Super Mario World.
We're showing off.
That's right. We are using those games.
So yeah, obviously, again, we touched on this last week, about, representation of who you are. We're consuming more than ever. There's technically, obviously, again, there's never a right or wrong way in theory of how to consume and what you choose to. Well, there's definitely a wrong way of how to consume, but in theory, what you own, there's not a right or wrong way of like, how much should you own? How much should you not own? But this was touched on a lot. I think last year, maybe 2 years ago, everything is starting to look the same. Like when we talk about the actual stuff we own, like literally everything is starting to look the same. And it's so, I've heard this conversation a lot. Specifically in the world of color. So
everything is gray.
Everything is gray.
Oh, this
I mean, everything behind us right now is gray.
This blue gray,
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so nice and clean and
yes,
and unassuming, and or it's like an off-white or maybe black.
Right.
I wouldn't say we're in a very black and white world.
We're not in a black and white world. It's definitely gray, beige, white.
Yeah. Absence of color. Definitely.
Which
and I mean,
to me makes a huge commentary on overconsumption, because when you can mass market something, it like needs to be easy to replicate. It needs to be like appealing to most people, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it just has a huge commentary on how much like, which I'm going to get into actual cultural comments, but it has a huge commentary on like the general, like, we've been convinced what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And now everything looks the fucking same. Like everything looks the same, because that's what can be reproduced very easily.
Yeah, I also wonder if that's like if that's just,
it's also a bit of like trends.
Yeah,
obviously.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's a
because
bit.
Like we had a like, I'm the type of person where I actually really I like what's behind us.
I don't.
Like, I think it looks nice.
I think it looks boring.
I think it looks modern. I agree, it looks boring.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Like, this is safe to me.
Yeah.
This will look good. Like, this looks good.
Oh my God, I'm so happy you're saying all this, and we're gonna get into all of this in like
you know
a
what
second.
I mean?
Sure.
It looks good.
Yeah,
it looks
fine.
clean.
It's acceptable.
It's right.
I want you to remember all the words you're using to describe it.
I prefer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I prefer safe.
Yeah.
Bold is the let me get on camera. Like the other sides of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Bold. Yeah. Right here is modern. So the grays.
Yeah.
It's safe. It's never going to be fantastic. It's never going to be terrible.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Bold.
Sure.
Can be the ugliest of ugly.
Yeah.
And also the fucking sickest of the sick.
Exactly.
And the prime example is our fucking bathroom in Brighton.
Oh, hell yeah. I loved that.
No. That was ugly.
We had a vintage all pink bathroom. Anyone who knows.
But
yes.
Change that color to anything else that's not gray.
Yeah.
And maybe it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Pink was it was like Pepto-Bismol.
I know. It was that, I can't think of what age that's from, but everyone had a pink bathroom. Yeah.
So I think that's the trend as well, where it's like we're all very just like safe, because it's like, and I think it's gonna get old soon.
Oh, it's old. Yeah, I agree with you.
From like a trend standpoint.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
So again, this was a big thing either a year or 2 years ago. I am blanking a little bit, but a huge study came out where an AI algorithms kind of tracked color in our products and our like day-to-day lives over time, documenting thousands of items from the 1800s to now, which again, now was like a year or two ago. 2 centuries ago, there was a mix of different colors with black, white, gray tones only representing about 15% of all items.
Mm-hmm.
Today, They used to think it's all grayed out. Our world is dominated. Roughly 60% of everything we see, honestly, that feels low for me, is like a black, white, or gray.
But what was 60% of color in the 1800s?
I don't know. They didn't say what the prominent color was.
See, that's what I mean.
But they're just saying nothing was like, you didn't see a whole gray thing.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there's white and gray in it, but it's like there were other colors mixed in.
My best guess is that
it's probably like
much like how just like trends happen.
Oh, 100%. Trends have always existed.
It's just gonna be So like, had we known what was like the 60%, the dominating thing in the 1800s, give it 200 more years.
Sure, in theory.
But realistically, like it'll probably make a comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like literally everything that's like Roman and not to sit here and be a man who thinks about the Roman Empire. But everything from that time period, right, was made out of like marble and stuff like that. And it's all white.
Yeah. Right.
You know? And I don't know if it's just our obsession with that and like trying to get back to like having like looks that remind us of those things.
Yeah.
Or maybe. What, because they had like a natural status to them.
Sure.
Like maybe that's some of it, but give it time and I guarantee that's something that doesn't like that's something that doesn't throw me off a ton.
No, you're right. As a whole, 100%, obviously trends happen. People are, berated for painting their house a not natural color, saying it kills property. It kills property value, which like pisses me off because that just means every decision in your life you should make based on the financial like outcome it'll provide you, not your like happiness.
And you know what that is? That thing you're feeling on your neck when you say that, that's capitalism. That's capitalism keeping you down.
So obviously there's an argument.
Because yes, everything you do in life, you should be thinking about either the financial gain or loss of said decision, because that is capitalism.
So they're arguing that color's making objects less valuable. Like when you're saying that, you're saying color detracts value of an object is what you're saying. It can be obviously seen as childish. It can be seen as like amateur,
that's
something
oh
my god, a regret you'll have later in life. Like everyone's like, you'll regret doing that. Obviously, like you said, neutral means safety. So Apartment Therapy released a huge article called Color, Chromophobia, and Colonialism, Some Historical Thoughts. Again, in the past like few years. First off, I do want to say chromophobia is a real, people have fear of color. They use it in a very general sense. I think that's
called racism. That got more of a laugh from you than I was expecting. I really appreciate it.
I'm also shocked by the laugh, but it did get me. Obviously, the article's using it in a pretty general, like, people want to control the amount of color. People want to, like, control how people react to color. But chromophobia is a real, like, someone can get a very strong reaction, like, a very unsettling, a very, like, scared. Generally, it's, like, one or two colors that they're like, I just can't fucking look at that color. Like, it, like, have, like, a genuine fear. Like, that is a real thing. And it's used in this article. It is very much used in a general, like, people don't want to use color in this world.
Do you think that's like a natural like fear that people develop? Or do you think that's
natural? Sorry, I don't know. I would love to Google it.
But like something
happens in life,
innately born with.
Yeah.
Or do you think it's because?
Are you literally asking if chromophobia is nature versus nurture? That's effectively what you're asking.
I don't know, because like I think like I have developed somewhat of an agoraphobia.
Okay. So you're saying, do you develop chromophobia? I mean, probably.
Is it because, and like I would say my agoraphobia is from the pandemic and like having to quarantine and also just being a typical introvert.
Sure. Anxious.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think it all just compounded because of 100%. All the things. Is the fact that we've become so colorless as a society contributing to people becoming chromophobics?
I could absolutely see that. Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with really funny historical jokes, but it would be at the expense of people who have been fucking put down over the years. So, no, because chromophobia is like so close, and like because of color, my next joke was going to be about rainbows, people being scared of rainbows,
Mm-hmm.
which I was going to say is homophobia,
Right.
not homophobia.
Right. I hate you. I also want to say this article isn't arguing against the psychology of color. It's arguing against like kind of these silly societal rules that we've set in place.
Yeah, I'll give it a little bit of time.
So it's a commentary on how neutral is always connected to modern and clean, like these descriptive words that you literally said all of them. Which again, it's just like that's how we're basically taught to perceive those styles.
Anytime you see somebody do like remodeling this kitchen, and you see the first, and it's like browns and like very earthy tones and stuff like that, right? And then it goes modern. And it
white.
Does a thing, and it's white marble countertops, or it's just all gray. It's what's behind us. Literally every time. Every time.
Quote from the article, for instance, it would be considered fashionable to wear a bright pink tie as long as the suit is gray. But in general, we would find it eccentric or odd to wear a bright pink suit with a gray tie.
I also think that would look bad.
You think a pink tie with a gray suit?
No, the inverse.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying a pink tie with a gray suit is acceptable. It's like, wow, that's out there.
Yeah.
A pink suit with a gray tie.
I think you ruin a pink suit with a gray tie.
So what do you need with a pink suit?
I don't know. I'm not good with matching colors, but gray's too dull. Like pink makes it pop.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Taking something that's super dull and adding that splash, I think is great. I think taking something that is so colorful and killing it with gray, I think is bad, but not for the same reasons. Like I'm saying, I'm fine with the pink suit.
Okay. You're mad at the gray tie.
What's that doing here?
Get it out of here.
Get that out of here.
So just a slight history, mostly gleaned from this article.
Maybe like a blue tie. Pink and blue look good.
I like that. Certain type of blue. Yeah, I like that. During the beginning of the European countries, at the beginning of like the transatlantic like slave trade, and obviously later Caribbean countries, there were generally highly decorative fabrics were used as like a trading resource. And the thing that like just a little bit of history, the British East India Company, like the tea trade that was happening with like India and like Great Britain, the material that was like transporting stuff was like this highly decorated like woven fabric. And the agreement with the UK was that like in order to protect local textile like unions and like groups and stuff, anything that was imported as a textile, the only reason it could be imported was if the agreement was it would immediately be exported. Like they couldn't stay there because they couldn't devalue the local craftsmanship of textile workers. So these like ornate something when it's like
extravagant.
Not extravagant, but also like when something's like from a different culture. So you're like, it's like
exquisite.
I don't know the word I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter. Exotic. You know, it's like different. It's like, whoa, like from somewhere else. They didn't want those things to like flood the market and then like devalue like local craftsmen is like a big scheme of what was presented. So these like basically leftover bags became trading items for literal human lives. And so there kind of became an extra connotation of like these extravagant, like very ornate bags being used to like, again, devalue human life. But like we don't use them. They're a trading resource. Like it kind of was just like started to tie things together. Tie like it became like a, not a connotation, but like I don't know where words are not coming to my brain right now. So again, obviously these textiles became part of like trade agreements in Africa and the Caribbean, and these decorative styles became associated with people they deemed lesser or arguably not human. Those were effectively the words I was looking for, and I should have just scrolled down a little bit on my page. So the English literally referred to these as rags and trash, but again, were deemed fine enough to trade for slaves. And the apartment therapy article quotes the German writer Goethe, whatever, famously stated, "Men in a state of nature, uncivilized nations and children have a great fondness of colors in their utmost brightness, whereas people of refinement avoid vivid colors. In short, a love for bright colors marked one as uncivilized, childish, other, and you're not like you're like, yeah, again, you're foreign. You're like not part of the in crowd basically by loving color and bright things, or you're childish or whatever. As a whole, this isn't to say someone can't prefer the color white, have a white house, blah, blah, blah. It's more about having an understanding of where the root of maybe these, like, we'll call them gut reactions to color, because they're probably not gut reactions. They've definitely been like ingrained in us over generations, to anything different. And I wrote down as like a note, I mean, go to any museum and it's obvious color has been a preferred choice in what would be everyday pottery, like eating instruments, artwork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like go to like any museum and literally like look at old like things that were in people's houses. They're not just like gray. Like, and it was arguably harder to put color into those things then than it is now. Like they all have design. They all have like, you know, like patterns on them. Like they're like, that's clearly, it's not just like innately human to want something to be plain. It's not wrong to want something to be plain, but it's not like an innate thing that like is in us. So it definitely speaks a lot to like the colonization of cultures has kind of dulled everything down. And we're seeing that argument happen like more and more. Like people are like, I feel like I've had to forget my like Asian like upbringing. I feel like I've had to forget my like, I mean, it happens in the United States like all the time. Like younger generations who are like sick of not seeing like sick of like feeling like they can't be fully represented because then it would make them an other. Like if they cling too much to like bright colors because, oh, this is what like if I was still living in Mexico, this is what we'd be wearing and what like our hair would look like and what our jewelry would be. And like, but here that's not okay. Here that's like trashy. Here it's like too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a whole thing. And I just made a note that it's so wild. We've created a fear of color. And kind of like judged on it. We make it seem like dirty, lower class, like etc. And I put, it's so funny how the Western world, specifically the United States, has such an individualistic society and culture, yet sometimes the worst thing you can do is stand out in any way. So as a whole, sorry, I'm like running out of breath and I'm trying to wrap this up. As a whole, obviously, I've talked about this like a million times. I'm not trying to put effort. I'm not trying to put blame or guilt or anything on like an individual. That is never, ever, ever my intention. It is not an individual's problem. Obviously, corporations, government policies, people in power should be actually doing their fucking job and like doing better and wanting to create better. Obviously, that is all without having to be said. I do think it's important that like as humans, it's just like start having these conversations, start assessing why we do the things we do. Question like, why do I have this emotion? Like trying to take a step back and really like think about it, because like you don't think about how much has just been like put on you without like even second guessing it, which is just human nature. That's not like wrong.
And the best thing about the system that we live in is that we set
the trends.
We have the power.
Exactly.
We do. We have the numbers on our side.
Exactly.
The problem is overpopulation has made it that there are too many of us. It's impossible to get organized. We can't all just agree to do one thing.
But it's like literally proven corporations change what they're doing based on general public trends. So we do have the ability to change things.
Which is one of the things that pisses me off so much, is that we do help set trends.
Yes.
And we can boycott things.
Yes.
And even with boycotts, doesn't matter. Like, this is not supposed to be a political statement whatsoever, whether you're left or right. Like, literally look at what the right tried to do with Bud Light.
Right.
And their boycott.
Yeah.
And look how it was not even a drop. Maybe it was a drop in a bucket.
Right.
Like, kudos.
Yeah.
Because there are so many of us, it is impossible to actually, like, corporations can truly do no wrong.
Right.
And that's what pisses me off when they bitch and moan about how, like,
yes.
Oh, you know, nobody wants to buy anything anymore. Yeah. It's just like, you just cashed a $300 million bonus check.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Go into GTA, pull up GTA Online, go to the quick interaction menu, scroll down to one of the last options, pay that $500, baby.
Oh my God. again, more than anything, I want to challenge the cultural concept of consumption on a personal level, being honest about what you need, being honest about your what you want, maybe why you want them, the long-term usability of your wants, et cetera, et cetera. Over time, if you practice these things, you know, it should only become more natural. You'll probably start to like have these conversations in other parts of your life, whatever. And when it comes to, you know, a lot of people argue that no one actually has a style anymore. No one actually has like a personal, like, I'm going to say the word style again, but like when it comes to like how we live interior, how we dress, like this is a whole other thing I'm not going to go into, but, you just want like you need to like take time to like actually discover what you love because there's so much input on like what you should love, how you should dress,
embrace
how
what you
you
love.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But it's just like it's a process that takes time. Again, I'm not going to get into interior and style because that is a whole other cultural, psychological conversation. But it's just like having a look, having a this, having a love, like takes literally your whole life to actually figure out because it's always changing and it like doesn't need to be what's on the billboard of whatever the fuck wherever you're driving. Because if anything, it's just another mass produced thing that they just want you to spend your money on that you worked hard to get and should be used however you actually will get the most use out of it and will hopefully support the planet and the people on it in the best way possible. That was my very long-winded, I'm out of breath essay thing. At the end of the day, we're all just hopefully doing what we can. I mean, a lot of us aren't. I'm not talking about the people listening. I'm talking about the people upstairs, if you will. But,
yeah, God.
Yeah, God. But yeah. Any thoughts, questions, feedback?
No, I think you put a nice bow on it right at the end where it's like, we all just got to do what we can.
Yeah.
And we all can't. Yeah, like you said, we and the you of that conversation is aimed at the people at the bottom.
Yeah.
Everybody, basically. Like 99% of people, if
Right.
we're talking about the US alone.
Right.
Yeah, we can only do so much. So do what you can.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
And just, hope.
I always just say want better. Like I just want better.
Yeah.
That's normally where everything I say comes down to.
Yeah. The problem that want needs to be echoed by others and is not.
Yeah.
And will never be.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, so obviously there's nothing wrong with decluttering. There's nothing wrong with like wanting things. There's nothing wrong with any of that, blah, 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 blah. I just think it's a really interesting, giant cultural conversation on how we feel about stuff, how much we care about it. I mean, we're consuming at our highest rate ever and caring about it the least. And there's behind every little thing you're looking at, there's multiple human hands that touch that.
Yeah.
To get it into your hands.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Man, that's a whole nother conversation.
That was it. If you listened to all of that, thanks. You're the best. Yes, you deserve a clap. I'll try to take a step away from consumption until maybe next December/January when it inevitably comes up again for me. But yeah, if there's any other future deep dives you'd love us to do, please feel free to let us know. We've done, a bit of deep dives on the history of cereal. We've done like wedding ceremony traditions. I'm trying to think of like some of the weirder ones we've done. We did do like Shein and Forever 21 a little bit. We touched on. We did a little bit of Starbucks.
That wasn't even like a deep dive into Starbucks. That was just into like the drinks.
Yeah, their drinks and like naming conventions and their marketing was mostly what we touched on. But yeah, so if there's anything else, I mean, it could be literally anything. I enjoy Googling random stuff. So yeah, feel free to let us know. Again, movie club, 1 month from today, end of February, 1983. Come hang out with us. Until then, you can always find SMSoup podcast on, YouTube, if that's where you like to watch or listen to podcasts, TikTok and Instagram for, kind of some more like mini updates or clips whenever Shelby actually clips things.
You should probably go follow all those things.
Subscribe to them
or whatever.
Yeah, and if you ever want to find Spencer or I on socials, our socials are always listed in the show description. So I think that's it. Am I missing anything?
Did you ask them to leave a rating?
Leave a
wherever they
rating, review,
listen?
a star, a like, a heart, whatever the thing tells you can do. Maybe not a star, like 5 stars, preferably. And until next week, we will see you. Get Slurpee.
The fuck?
I'm working on my outros. You didn't like that one?
We'll see you get Slurpee.